Yeah,
Let's
a lot
get
happened.
down to business. Sorry.
To defeat the Huns, and by this, yes, I mean the Germans.
Literally. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Hey, welcome to your weekly corner Späti. It is me, Kieran. I am joined by Uma.
Hello.
And Nick.
Hey.
And yeah, this episode is going to be mostly about the German election, but we've got to do some other things that happened this week that really do need to be acknowledged because my fucking god. The German election happening did just kind of temporarily erase my brain, like my mind of the first thing I have on the list here, which is Albanese's kind of like visit to Berlin and how unhinged the German public were regarding that.
I'm surprised that we haven't talked about this yet because we haven't recorded since that happened.
No, it's been a whirlwind couple of days, to be honest.
It has been.
Mm-hmm.
Days are months and years and I don't know, something Lenin said.
Yeah, or that one quote from Tintin.
Oh yeah.
Which we all pronounce wrong, apparently. Remember,
Ton,
Kieran and I were like, ton, ton, and then like a listener was like, that's so wrong.
Apparently we were saying tuna.
I do love tuna.
Yeah, no one, the uniting European thing, no one is pronouncing Tintin correctly.
True.
How is it pronounced correctly?
I don't, Frenchly.
Tintin.
Tan, I don't know.
Tantan. Tintin.
Yeah. See, I hear it when a French person says it, I hear it as tong tong, and I think Uma does as well.
Yeah.
All I hear is or up, or
just the McDonald's jingle.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should basically like explain what happened with Albanese and why. So was it a meta thing?
No. So
initially, no.
Originally, she was invited by Freie Universität Berlin, by students there, and then that like FU canceled it because they said out of security reasons, which is the biggest, BS.
That's the German police wants to do something line, right? Just because they feel like it. It's
the It's the one of that. Then they're like they don't know if they can guarantee the safety for the event and stuff like that, which is, I mean, bullshit. But it is one of the easiest ways for them to be like, see, like we just can't do it. So then it got moved to a different location in Berlin. And then that one got a bunch of threats from
and vandalized, right?
Zionists and vandalized, saying that then like Albanese is an anti-Semite and some other stuff, which is like the thing that then I really have to like hammer on about this is that like this is going to sound conspiratorial and bad, but like a lot of this is like no, but like a lot of this stuff is like legitimately like will be organized by like Israeli intelligence a lot of the time, like the like because we saw it in Amsterdam, remember, and stuff like that of like
yeah, but Germans
but Germans are their own weird anti-Deutsch thing, of course, but it is like the sense of like I don't know how legitimate the threats are. A lot of the times like it is either just like obsessed anti-Deutsch people, or it will be like people with connections to like the Israeli like security service doing shit like that. Because like this stuff has happened a lot. Yeah, but I'm just saying like this stuff has happened in like France similarly.
I mean, what I was going to say is like we've seen this with a lot of like the modern way like FBI recruits or like pushes people to do things. Like it's never really a direct connection, but like I'm sure whatever anti-Deutsch group these people like Facebook group they're in, there's possibly like someone who is like egging them on, who's
or like the people in the US who like vandalized all the camps like were egged on by like a bunch of ex-IDF members and stuff like that. Like
this doesn't happen without a bunch of willing participants.
No, of course not. Yeah, exactly. But it is always this thing of like It is one of these odd things too, because even like I mean, as we've talked about on the show, it's like 70% of Germans like kind of acknowledge to some degree that something bad is happening, that Israel is doing something wrong. So it is a very hyper vocal, bizarre minority, obviously backed by the state and by the federal government, and the German police. So that then got moved, and then they smartly moved it to Junge Welt, because Junge Welt as a newspaper technically is not allowed to have police presence at their events. They're exempt from it because they are a publication. Freedom of speech stuff in the Verfassungsschutz guarantees it. And it is something that is kind of always like benefited specifically that paper with being able to like host events and do the things that they do, because they have a level of immunity. Now, yes, they are being investigated by the Verfassungsschutz as being left-wing extremists, and I need to remind everyone that the reason that they are doing so is because they believe that class exists. That is the official terminology from the Verfassungsschutz about why Junge Welt is. It's not even that they're anti-capitalist. It is specifically that they acknowledge that we live in a Klassengesellschaft.
All British people are left-wing extremists.
Yeah. So, it does. So the police then went to the event. They did this, kind of chest puffed out thing, and then remained at the event for the entirety. But like in the back, they had translators there. They did all the stuff that the police do at demonstrations, but they couldn't really do much more than just like walk around the thing once or twice and then, pause the event more or less. But they weren't going to be able to do the thing that they did at the Palestine Congress, because although they were already there illegally, I think the likelihood of them just not letting them do it would have been like, it is kind of the thing of like, there are limits that the police still clearly has to some degree. Doesn't mean that those limits are being tested. I mean, the fact that they were even there was quite surprising, to say the least, of how Germany has kind of how far they've dipped into like using these like fascist tactics, specifically towards the Palestine, like the pro-Palestine movement, and the fact that then Francesca Albanese is a UN official. UN official, exactly. So
it's very like Hitler leaves the League of Nations. Feels like it's a moment that's creeping towards us, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was bad. It was I don't know, it was kind of like my reaction from afar and purely through like German language social media is it does seem to have radicalized a lot of people who weren't necessarily like vocally pro-Palestinian, to say the least, like people who had their like concerns or whatever about sending weapons to active war zones, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah,
because
the real freaks have their heels dug in as deep as they can go. These are the people that then are like, I mean, greatest example of this is like someone like Annalena Baerbock being like, you know what, maybe like, as I mentioned, like actually last night to Ted when we were hanging out, of like Baerbock was literally like reciting things that like Dmitry Peskov would say about why it's okay to attack a Ukrainian apartment about Gaza, Yep. So like the people whose feet are firmly, Israel must protect itself. This Hamas is only at fault. Nothing, Israel's not doing genocide, are starting to look more and more and more like freaks. I wish that would have shown in the election, but we'll get to that. But yeah, like there is like a general sense of, I think that the common person who isn't like, whose brain is not completely fried from Twitter, say like like Ahmad Massour or whatever the hell his name is, the token Arab journalist who they like, parade around being like, see, he's Arab and he loves Israel and he hates Palestinians. Like Germany loves doing that shit. Germany loves tokenism. Like,
100%. Yeah. I think what was really interesting to see was obviously as a UN official, Albanese knows how bad Germany is with Palestine, and she's had to, that guy that was like that asked her once, like, are there records of Israel committing genocide? And she was like, what the fuck are you on about? Obviously she knows how bad it is, but I think you could see in the video that that was posted of her explaining the situation in English, you could see how it was like dawning on her, like in real time, like how fucked up Germany is when it comes to this topic. And she was just like, like, there's no room to breathe, and I'm really scared for my German friends, because where have you seen that, such a high police presence on like a talk that was also like 100 hours long? Like,
Yeah. They even
sorry.
banned a movie from being shown. Like that's
It's I think the thing that, to like Uma's point of like she's kind of realizing how bad it was, because she's made comments to this effect before, right? She's like, from afar, not necessarily in Germany, has commented on like the state of affairs in Germany. I think she made comments around like the Berlinale stuff that happened last year. But the thing that I find most interesting is that she didn't really get like preferential treatment. The same thing what I was saying, how this radicalized some people who were a bit more like in the squishy middle, because of how a UN official is being treated. A UN official did get just treated the same way that, like, I don't know, like Heb Jamal would get treated when she tries to give like a public talk or something. Like,
she was the one whose film wasn't allowed to be shown. The pieces of it that were at the Thank you for remembering her name, because I felt very bad just now.
But that is like fascinating that like her station didn't give her preferential treatment on this topic. Which I think allows her, like, I think that was like, to Uma's point, allowed her to see it from the kind of like activist, public intellectual, like public intellectual without like huge amount of credentials, kind of like viewpoint that a lot of like other journalists and activists and pundits have seen already. Like, she's kind of saying what Yanis said like maybe 6 months ago after Yanis experienced it. Yeah. So yeah, we had to mention that because it's fucked up.
Yeah. I will say that I really, I mean, first off, like, if you watched the live stream, I wanted to go, but then when it got moved and I didn't want to deal with that. But it was very kind of cool in the sense of how like they've like low key made her into like a rock star. Like she like entered the building while there was like a very good panel about like, another thing that I also very much enjoyed about the panels beforehand is that then I don't think this gets talked about enough. But they do kind of have been like making a point more so to get like Palestinian voices onto these things. And I know this, like, again, I don't want this to sound problematic or something like that, but there's always like the knee-jerk reaction from like a lot of like Europeans and especially Germans of like, well, what do like Jews think about this? And it's like, fine, good, great. Anti-Zionist Jews are very important for like, the movement and the cause. But a lot of times like that voice is always like searched for far before Palestinians who are having like all of this, horror happen to them. So I think it was like very nice to then see that then it was very much at the like focal point that there was all these activists in there beforehand. And then Albanese comes later and gets like a standing ovation just by walking in the room, which ripped.
Yeah.
That's the least problematic thing you could have. When you said I don't want to sound problematic, I was like, oh Lord.
I know, because some like dipshit like, German would get mad at me for being anti-Semitic of like, what? So you want to silence Jewish voice? No, I don't want to silence Jewish voices.
Yeah.
But I don't think that then it's like, and I know that then a lot of like Jewish comrades of ours say the exact same thing of like, you know what, maybe it's not the most important thing to be asking like the oppressor how they feel about this scenario, like we need to amplify more Palestinian voices.
I think that was, looking back on that, like whatever, like kind of October October, November 2022, 2023,
2023, yeah.
Yeah. Looking back then, I think the problem that maybe we didn't really want to admit, because it kind of gives away how bad the situation is, that we, like, the left and pro-Palestinian voices were playing defense.
Yeah.
Like the right and the center had basically already come out with the kind of like anti-Semitism line, and like everyone who was pro-Palestinian just basically had to like fight against that.
Still have to.
Still, yeah.
Yeah.
I do. We'll get to it later, but particularly in the German context, I do feel like this election is slightly a turning point with this discussion, and I think also Albanese's visit and what happened with it feeds into that. But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, we can talk about that when we talk about the German elections for sure.
Yeah. Something else that's going to come when we talk about the German elections is, hey, the global world order is fucking changing. And, woo! And we've gotten out our tiny little, like, you know, discount from Rossmann makeup brushes to take away some dust that's on this big control panel we have in front of the big old Europe console that reveals a button that just says Gaullism on it, and we're slamming that immediately. Because yeah, Trump's comments towards Ukraine and what seems to be like, the last time we talked about this, of like, everyone should have seen this like negotiated peace thing coming. Like, America's been pulling out of Europe since Obama's pivot to Asia, etc., etc. However, I don't think people were expecting like Trump's comments to immediately like be I don't know even how to describe it, like North Korean flag emoji, Zelensky is a dictator. He actually started to comments.
Yeah, like your weird Lenin cum daddy 420 is
not even that, just like even more esoteric. Like the flag emojis I have are
the Russian one, the Eastern Patriarch, and the North Korean flag.
The cross of St. George as well.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Throw that in. Hey, why not?
Venezuela.
We're fantastic gumbo here.
Yeah, Venezuela, Iran.
Venezuela, Iran, Comoros. Oh, what's happening there? But they've got Comoros flag here.
The Seychelles, cool, for some fucking reason. Yeah, just because it looks nice.
Yeah, it's got a little rainbow starburst thing going on. Yeah. It's great. So like, that has caused Macron to have more of these emergency summits with various like EU and NATO -1 kind of meetings. Let's call them that. -2 technically. I'm not sure what the Canadians are doing, but
Canada's not a member of NATO.
They are.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
What?
North Atlantic, baby.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe you're right. I thought it was only Europe for some. Wow, for me being like the like NATO verstehe, I should know this one. Oh no, I was thinking of like Australia. That's what it was.
Yeah, that's the pivot to Asia.
Yeah, that's the NATO +8 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
NATO +8 -2 divided by 3. Yeah. I'm stupid. Why did I say that? Obviously, Canada's a member of NATO.
Yeah, but they just don't do shit anyway.
I mean, good. I mean, Canada does. They're just evil in Africa, and they just like let everyone forget about it.
And evil in their own country as well.
Yeah, that too. But we forget about Canada.
Yeah. They're lucky that the U.S. is so much more evil.
Look. We have a very generous definition of what is and isn't Europe, but I refuse to include Canada because they'd like that too much.
Yeah. The kind of person who tells you, well, Montreal is actually a very European city.
No, fuck off. Die. I'm sure it's a lovely city.
I bet it is a very lovely city.
Lovely.
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Montreal is so European that they brought a baseball team there and they didn't like it. So
I still insist my Eurovision definition, it's about per capita white people with dreads. And frankly, I think the Canadians know better. Australians, on the other hand, no.
It is. That's exactly
It
it.
checks out. This math checks out.
Have you seen this Latin America Eurovision that's happening?
No.
Oh, okay, we'll talk later.
Later. There's too much to talk about this episode. And then leading into our election topic, actually, we could possibly save that last little bullet point there for when we talk about that party.
No. We're going to talk about it right now because it has to do with something before the election. So the other day was the 5th anniversary of the attack in Hanau, where a right wing extremist went into I believe it was a shisha bar and murdered people, and it started this whole. Yeah, it was a cafe, and it started this whole say their names movement, which has been actually a pretty good thing of remembrance culture in Germany of recent. I think it's actually shown the importance of that and how as much as I want to shit on Germany, for all this shit, it is one of the things that has actually been very nice to see plastered everywhere of that then this very anti-migrant, neo-Nazi murder that has connections to the security service. Don't ask too many questions. Has kind of brought this larger moment of solidarity, even amongst the liberal parties. We'll talk about how that's not anymore the case in a second. But the funniest way that I think I've seen anyone commemorate this was that Annalena Baerbock, on Instagram, put say their names, remember this and that. But the song that she had linked to it on her story was from a NSBM adjacent band.
Which
and
is
for the
those
real heads, you might need to explain that.
I mean,
acronym.
you people are good at acronyms. I mean, use your imagination.
No, Nick, this is so niche to your interest.
I know. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
No. Okay.
I'm going to explain it.
New school bow movement.
Yeah, exactly. No, NSBM is National Socialist Black Metal. I don't need to explain what National Socialism is.
No, Nick, you should.
Yeah.
I've got this Charlie Kirk video here that's going to explain.
Yeah.
But what? So I have a question. What was the song? How did she?
It was
what were the lyrics? What was
there are no lyrics. It's this acoustic intro thing that they had of a song. But the fact that Annalena Baerbock is listening to
that's so dumb.
folk NSBM metal is kind of fits, because I do believe that Annalena Baerbock is a little bit rocky.
Yes.
And this is one of those bands where it isn't just the fact of oh, you can get confused, they sing in German, whatever. No, you go on the Wikipedia page, it is right there. It says allegations of right-wing extremism. They I don't know if they themselves are actually a black metal band, but they're in they're friends with a bunch of them, and they've played at rocking links and stuff like that, and that kind of whole milieu of things. And then they do the classic thing of denying it, of no, we're not. I guess technically to be an NSBM band, you have to explicitly be the NS part, but whatever. It is this
whatever.
you look I think the band was called Rigger or something like that. I don't, it's German metal. It's garbage. But it's one of those ones where you just see the logo and you're all I don't even have to ask.
Yeah.
Everything looks all folkish, and no, we're not doing that.
Nick usually has the don't tell, don't ask kind of policy when it comes to black metal bands.
It is so unfortunate how many awesome black metal bands, particularly out of Ukraine, have the worst politics, because they write fucking rippers, and then you have to look up and they're all lyrical themes, Ukrainian nationalism, and you're just nope, all right, sorry, I have a limit, and it is that.
Yeah. Annalena Baerbock does give me, as someone who's had many office jobs, she does give me the impression of
rocky.
You're dressing down for this professional space, but on the weekend and in college,
on the weekend,
school,
she's wearing
a goth,
black platform boots And
Yeah.
like I mean, to be fair, when she had the full like where she kind of had the vibe of like the baddie from the first Hellboy movie with like her all black leather ensemble, that was kind of sick if it wasn't like Nazi adjacent.
Yeah, she was trying to do the Green Leader in Berlin, who did that, I think, more effortlessly.
Oh, Queen, I forget her name. Yeah, I mean, as much as I don't
Yeah.
like the Greens, I do.
She looked great.
Yeah, I do appreciate. The Greens do have the MILF and DILF gun. Maybe not so anymore.
No,
but
they do. It's we've proven this. And Uma, you need to look up what Habeck and Baerbock looked like 10 years ago. They've all had massive they all had massive glow ups.
Yeah.
No, they look worse.
Yeah. They look like Annalena Baerbock looks like hella nerdy and shit, and she has like the the rimless glasses and stuff.
It's
and
like it's a 90s teen rom-com of like before the makeover.
And then she
like,
takes the glasses off and they're all like, "Oh, wow, you're so pretty." But yeah, so sorry. Back to go on, Uma.
I was watching like the coverage of the elections, and I actually was surprised at how she's quite pretty. Like she has beautiful eyes. Like I've never really paid attention to her because oh my god, I'm like in love with her now. No, because obviously I dislike her very much. I'm
in love with the defense minister.
Yeah, I had never paid attention to how she looks physically because I'm like, whatever, I don't care about her. But then I was like Havoc was talking and she was just standing next to him, and I was like, why is she like beautiful? Like, what?
Yeah,
what the fuck?
Girl, girl, you're beautiful. Why are you in this party? Why do you?
Why are you a psycho? Like,
Uma at home just watching the TV, being like, I can fix it.
Literally, that was me yesterday.
Yeah, but before I put a pin in the election, because just to quickly go back to the Hanau thing. So the city of Hanau then just to kind of put to make it even worse, one of the mothers of the people who was murdered by this right-wing extremist gave a speech at the remembrance thing, and she said that the city of Hanau is responsible for this attack to have happened. The local government of Hanau didn't like that, so now they have canceled the remembrance for the future.
Oh my god!
Respond, my god! Like
Jesus
what the
Christ.
fuck? How? Like
they said that they can't support something that then is so mean.
Oh my god! Grow up. What the fuck?
You're not meant to be this fucking petty.
Yeah. And so and the thing that then's even more disgusting as well too, before we go to the elections, is that then I don't know if you guys saw the videos of the protests that were going on around Germany in remembrance of the murders in Hanau. The police presence was insane. Like it is, for something that, like, again, where I said that then it's very interesting where like collectively Germany has come around where even like, obviously like the CDU will come out and be like, remember their names, this and that, even though, yes, the CDU, does the politic that then allows for these murders to happen. It kind of has become this like general like lib moment where they've kind of been like, this is the thing where we have to realize that then that, yes, anti-migratory sentiments in Germany are bad. But now actually fuck that, because we're hitting the racism button like, as hard as we can. And that even means that we're going to criminalize the remembrance demonstrations for this murder that then everyone is supposed to then, take a moment and reflect about.
I think the Hanau was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Like a completely. It feels like a completely different Germany when that happened. Like obviously there's connective tissues, whatever. But I also think German media quickly realized that like that was a little problematic for a lot of narratives, namely because Hanau attack was like both Islamophobic and anti-Semitic. It was both done by the same perpetrator, and this. I think that's protests and demos would be demos, right? Like remembering this attack and remembering in great detail who the victims were, I think gets in the way of a lot of modern German narratives about what's happening with the like non-white Gentile communities of Germany. And they're pitted against each other, and there's definitely no common enemy that is us. Like, so yeah, because we definitely like remember we saw like all those headlines about the Hanau attack. I think this was like the 2-year remembrance, which was like that described it as like specifically an anti-Semitic attack, and like a bunch of people had to come in with the like actually they also went after clearly like Muslim targets as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that or like even just like bringing it back to like it was also quite anti-migrant. Like the problem you have with the shooter was he probably conceived of Jewish Germans as also being migrants. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there they don't really want to touch.
Yeah, it is. I mean, because it does uncut. Well, the thing is that too is I think what Hanau allowed was the general consensus of Germany, because it was such an egregious act of violence. It is one of the things that even like the right can point at and be like, see, like this is we can obviously acknowledge that this is bad, but you know, I hate to break it to you, we have to then still, you know, stop migration. You know, like they can kind of do the same thing in the same breath because they pretend that these are both like unrelated policies and politic to one another.
Yeah,
but
it feels,
yeah, go on.
it feels like the right are weaponizing it in such a way, like they're using Hanau as a way to save face, kind of just being like, no, look, we're not racist because we feel bad about this, and you know, remember their names. But then, as you guys are saying, like turn around and hit like the racism button multiple times, you know, and it's really so fucked up that the way that it's being weaponized like that and it's being used by them like that, when I don't know who is the mayor of the city of Hanau, but I assume it's either like CDU.
Oh, they have an insane coalition. Wait, I have to look this.
I mean, like CDU and Greens and
Volt.
No.
Well, some of the piddly little parties are in like local governments because they managed to get in there.
No. So Hanau has like it is a coalition of every party, I think.
Oh,
yeah.
God.
So here. So it's SPD, CDU, and FDP.
It was just like the SSW is here for some reason.
Yeah.
Oh.
No. But I remember reading it and being like, oh, that is a bonkers coalition.
That's
Say it again. FDP, CD. Who was it?
SPD, CDU, and FDP.
Oh,
It's
a Deutschland coalition.
Yeah.
Right?
But
like
it's like freak mode though. That is one of that is the freakiest coalition in Germany. I think that the SPD like led the government. Like, yeah, it's.
Oh,
here,
anyway.
Oberbürgermeister Klaus Kaminski, SPD. So yeah, it's the SPD-led government.
I mean, like just the canceling it because one of the like mothers of the victim said something you didn't like. I'm sorry, like at
when
these
there's also
events,
so much proof as well. Sorry, like
like you've effectively admitted this. Like you should just like in messaging terms, you should be just like they're entitled to their opinion. I disagree, but you know she's grieving. Blah blah blah.
Or just don't reply.
I mean, this is the typical German thing, though, right? Of like, it is always like if it was a German who said this, all right. Like, let's say that then it was like, you remember there was that CDU guy who was murdered in like NRV like a few years ago by like a Nazi, you know, which like happened and is very bad. You know, I don't like the CDU, but I don't think you should murder them. You know, and like you could have probably made some criticism of the thing of like, oh, this is NVA's fault for not having for not monitoring the right well enough, this and that. If you were a German person, it would have been fine. It comes simply to the fact that they just don't want a migrant person or a person with Migrationshintergrund, even if they're German, to come and tell them, being like, you allowed this to happen. And you know what? They like it's a similar thing too in the United States, just using an example of a hyper racist country of like, look at the amount of like crimes that aren't solved that are committed to minorities compared to white people, like, you can then use these, these non-white, people in Germany, put them on this pedestal so you can feel good about yourself, but you're not going to actually treat them as equal citizens in the sense of that you're not going to prevent these type of crimes from happening because you don't fucking care. We see that then there's at least 4 violent acts of like from neo-Nazis daily in Germany. The amount of like, I mean, for people who don't live in the country, there is like, it's like daily that like a refugee, Asylunterkunft, I don't know what the English word is like lit on fire by Nazis with no one reporting about it. Like this type of crime is allowed to then happen over and over and over and over and over again because these people are expendable to the German state. But God forbid you fucking critique when then the state doesn't actually like do its job to prevent this crime from happening because they're not going to do it.
Yeah. We have to move.
We have to move on to
the meat and potatoes.
Yeah. I want to talk about this so bad. I love it. I don't love it actually, but yeah.
All right. So we should probably do like a little bit of a rundown of results. I'm going to go with here. We had the German federal snap elections happened last night as of recording. Yesterday. The results came out last night. And we have probably fairly predictable results, kind of in line with where polling was. Germany does like especially in the lead up to an election, does like polls every Sunday, basically. Sonntagswahl. And we've got in first place, just going to quickly do this, we'll talk more specifically. CDU, 28.5%. AFD, second place with 20.8%. SPD in third place with 16.4%. Greens with 11.6%. Die Linke with 8.77 or 8.8%. And both the FDP and the BSW not making it in with 4.33 or 4.97% of the vote, respectively. Huge increase in turnout.
The highest turnout since like the reunification.
Yeah, 1990.
Pretty mobilized.
83.1%, I believe, was the final figure I saw.
I have it here
84,
in the little like slideshow. 82.5. So yeah, almost 83% basically. Which is a near like 10% increase off of 2021, which was also quite a high turnout. Historically, should say that in terms of seat projection, the only 2-party coalitions that work are CDU with SPD or CDU with AFD. And then, basically nothing else works after that. Yeah, like CDU with both Die Linke and the Greens, I don't think works. Anything else would just be like added flavor if they were added to a coalition.
Yeah. I have a bone to pick with that. I think you're wrong. I think that we're going to get I think that the Greens may end up actually in the coalition at the end of the day because there has been. Where do we want to start with this? Or do we want to start with the good, the bad, the ugly? What is it? Like coalition building is a thing that then like, I guess to start it off, Merz won more or less. He's going to be the next Bundeskanzler. There's no possible way that like an SPD Green or Linke coalition could form, which would have as bad as
funniest outcome.
But I wouldn't be so opposed to it. I know that then that the SPD ran on going racism. It would just be hilarious though if Scholz ended up back as Bundeskanzler after like losing historically.
Everyone had felt in total like on suicide watch. Yeah. Red Green has finally happened.
Yeah,
to be fair, like that's what happened in Spain though. Pedro Sanchez lost, and then he made a coalition with like all the small parties in the parliament, and then he's prime minister again.
Yeah, because Pepe ran on the like fuck those small parties platform, basically.
Exactly. And then Pepe and Vox, thankfully, it's not like CDU and FD, which could be, total majority, and then they would escape. Pepe and Vox wouldn't have been, etc., etc. But yeah, sorry. It's just like, it's not, it would be the funniest outcome, but it's also not so far-fetched if they truly want the Brandmauer and alles,
Yeah, no, for sure. And actually, one of the things, as much as I cannot fucking stand BSV, if BSV did get in, I think that then it would have possibly pushed it over. There was like a period last night where it could have happened, and then they're like, oh no, it didn't. But then we just all kept like joking around with each other of like, that would be like a 4-party coalition where everyone is just like hyper nerdy, like either like lib or lefty academics, just nothing gets done. Like
the best lectures you've ever been to in your life.
Not one piece of legislation ever passed. Yeah, so Matt's kind of went in the sense yesterday. I guess we can just start with the coalition building stuff, right? And has said that he's ready to go in. He's ready to form a government. They want to form it before Easter, which is very ballsy. I don't know if that's going to happen. And he was very explicit that then he does not, even though the AFD was like, hey, we're the second largest party, form a coalition with us. Merz, surprisingly, was very brutal last night, actually, to the AFD, but not for the reasons that then I was expecting. I mean, not that I was going to expect him to be like, no, you're racist and you're far right wing and this and that and that. Like, Vidal last night was like, the right one, clearly. You are also a right wing party. Like, come on. Like, we should, like, it should be the rightful path of Germany should be this horror that we've set.
She was gagging for it. She was like,
loved it.
Let's form a coalition, please, please, please. She also said, if you form a coalition with the left, that would be electoral fraud. Like, what are you on about?
These people are just stupid. I mean, like at the end of the day,
politics?
You live in Switzerland.
You live you shouldn't be allowed to run in this country, let alone be the like Spitzenkandidat for your party. But anyway. Yeah, so Merz went in and has kind of said that then he'll like. I think we're just going to end up with GroKo again. Yeah. But the thing is that then, as we mentioned with Ted last week, all the parties are going to do their song and dance of why they need to be in this coalition. And I think actually the Greens could give the most convincing argument because actually the Greens are further right wing on a lot of issues than the SPD is, particularly on things like, as I mentioned, Merz slammed into Vidal not for racist reasons or whatever, this and that, specifically because of NATO and foreign policy and their position towards Russia and Donald Trump, which now Merz, ironically, someone who loved Donald Trump, is like very mad about like Elon Musk's handling of the United States and like mentioned it on multiple occasions last night. But then also at the same time too acknowledges what I think is actually quite a fair point, that he's like, yeah, NATO is at its weakest. We may not see, like, NATO may not exist in June, Those are the words that came out of his mouth. I think he's over-exaggerating a little bit, but strictly out of like that Merz doesn't, one, trust the AFD, and two, that he like, not so much in the sense that then that like Atlanticism is reborn. He does see that there's a crisis happening between Europe's relationship to the United States, but that the AFD doesn't have what he's looking for in that regard. So that's where I think the Greens actually could win over Merz, is by being like, hey, daddy, we love these things, actually.
Yeah, I think one way to tackle this is we could possibly just talk about the parties individually.
Okay.
We started with the CDU. Let's continue with the CDU for a second, because those comments about like, we saw this in like, I saw Financial Times reporting about this before the election happened, about like Merz talking about like independent European fighting force. We need to meet the moment that is the current moment, with like how Trump is talking about NATO, how Trump is talking about Ukraine and Russia. Which, hey, to my credit, to pat myself on the back, I do think that, like, I think we mentioned this in our K-holding on the Bundestag episode, that like the CDU is definitely, out of self-interest and self-preservation, is more likely to drop NATO the moment it becomes inconvenient for them. And like, obviously still military spending, still just like all that money towards your children's education is going towards Rheinmetall hand jobs. But yeah, I can totally see this. Like, actually, we're not going to work with the AFD for like security reasons. And I also think his whole like migration declaration stunt. I think I don't know, I could be wrong, but I kind of get the impression the CDU has correctly did that as like a litmus test. That's like doing the drill tweet of like turning the racism dial and turning to the German public. Do you like this? And it turns out, no, they didn't. Everyone who wants to vote for AFD is already voting for AFD. So I kind of get the impression he's ruling out of like it didn't boost CDU's numbers.
Yeah,
and I think he did it to try and boost their numbers.
I think that's a perfect segue to go then to, I want to do the Greens and the SPD together because I feel that their downfall is a bit more similar because they're both going into Parliament somehow. The SPD, like I said, had a historic loss, the worst loss ever in the history of the party. When they've legally been allowed to run in elections,
they did worse than the election period where a bunch of brown shirts were intimidating SPD voters.
Yes, exactly. As I mentioned, yes, I said the SPD, where they are legally allowed to run in elections in the history of Germany, this is their worst performance ever in history.
One of those elections, their average voter was just getting harassed by Freikorps.
Yeah, exactly. So the SPD, what was around like 16% was the final. I got to pull up my
16.8.
Yeah, I was looking through the slideshow. I got to go to the first one. Oh,
4.4 less than AfD.
Yes, and the Greens then slid about like 3% or so to 11.6. So I think that then the my takeaway from this isn't so much the sense that, because a lot of people are like, oh, this is a revolt against the last governing coalition, and it's like that's true to a degree, but I think it's in the sense that the SPD could have then gone into, and the Greens could have gone into this election, done it all differently with then having actual social democratic or whatever green issues at the forefront. But they did. They moved further right. They hit the racism button. They thought that was going to work. And like you said, the people who were going to vote for those parties, whether it be the CDU or the AFD, were already going to vote there. And actually, the CDU and the CSU underperformed this election.
And everyone is talking about the SPD's historically worst result. As we're pointing out that I believe, I need to double check the data, but I think this is the CDU's second worst result.
Yeah, the worst one was last election of like 24%.
Yeah, so like this is kind of a...
Yeah.
I think you see similar things in Ireland of everyone just kind of hates the two major parties.
Yeah, because the thing is that then Merz is giving this whole speech about we clearly won. And honestly, like the fact that the CDU didn't get like 40-something% says a lot about how garbage that party also is. The CDU had the easiest job of just that we are not this coalition. Yes, of course they have the AFD, but they could have done like, if they focused on the economy simply, and they have and you know they could have done all their like, you know, quiet racism shit, but like Matt's doing the racism right before the election obviously hurt the party drastically. They dropped like 4 percentage points from before he did that to then the results now. Like the CDU was polling like at like 33% in some cases, and they didn't even clear 30% with the two parties that they have. So yeah. I know that it doesn't seem like, I know I don't want to sound like a contrarian here that the CDU actually like lost, because they didn't lose, but underperforming at that level and being in a position where you may not be able to form a practical coalition is bad for the current government, and the SPD are going to be morons if they can't rebuild and just give the people what they want, which is general social democracy.
The SPD, you know that It's Always Sunny, the quote of like, I play both sides, so I always come up on top. They tried to do that, and they did not come up on top at all.
No, it's the SPD and the Greens. I think the we should say that I think the Greens managed to hold on above like 10% because of the phenomenon we've talked about in this podcast a lot of just like the Greens are the most like, I am a good person. I don't need to actually look at the party platform or record of any of these parties. I'm just going to vote Green because I'm a good person.
Yeah.
It's very, because we saw that after Merz's migration stunt, the two parties got the huge amount of signups, like new membership was Die Linke and the Greens. And that is just a lot of people just kind of thinking like, the Greens are good, I guess.
Yeah.
They're nice.
I wish
have
I had the
Yeah.
mental zen of a Green voter, honestly.
Oh yeah, where like they have no concerns.
They just have no thoughts, brain empty, just like,
Yeah.
cruising on life, being like, oh, I'm a great person because Die Grüne, of course. Green? That's a nice color. Really nice people.
Yeah, I did see that. Was it friend of the show Lucas Ferraro was just like pointing out that like
it was
every survey question was like, are you concerned about the economy? And it was always like Green's topic, just like, nah. Are you concerned about paying bills? No. Are you concerned about war? Not really. Just like it's like, what are you concerned about?
Yeah, me and my crunchy ass granola, but also very rich family in Prenzlauer Berg, which actually I don't think. Wait, the Greens did win Prenzlauer Berg actually, but
Of course they
fair.
Yeah, life rocks in Germany. Is all I'm saying. My apartment I've had for like somehow 50 years because it's been inherited through my family, Don't ask, just all of my groceries are organic, my kids unvaccinated.
You're wondering how I save money and make big money moves in Europe's the capital of Europe's leading economy. I don't vaccinate
my kids, which is free in this country.
It's free anyway, but I still don't do
it. Yeah. Oh, I make sure that my kid only plays with like stupid fucking wood toys or whatever because plastic might make them gay or something.
I love the wood toys. I miss them so much. They're so great. Anyway.
Aesthetically they're fine. Ideologically, they're scary.
Look, what you gotta do? Look, hey, pro tip for any young parents out there in Berlin and in Die Hauptstadt, just walk to Prenzlauer Berg. Find the secondhand shops. You don't have to live there.
No.
But you gotta get to those secondhand shops.
Yeah,
the kids' clothes. Primo.
Now which direction do we want to go now with these parties? Do you want to go hip hip hooray? Let's have a little moment of a celebratory hurrah, or do we want to tackle the big bad? Germany is bad.
I think we end on the positive notes.
Okay,
so
cool.
Let's talk about AFD first.
Yeah. So AFD comfortably at 20%, had a 9% increase. This is frightening in a lot of regards. They took pretty much everything in East Germany, which I think was expected because the era of the CDU kind of like being big there. I know that then people think that it's a former, socialist country, they must vote SPD or Linke. CDU actually was very strong in these regions for a very long time. And
a handful of them, like Brandenburg.
Brandenburg was one of them. Yeah, I mean, Brandenburg is like there's a lot of parts of Brandenburg that are SPD, but like Mecklenburg-Vorpommern was like where Merkel is,
Yeah,
and the CDU kind of got a quick jump during reunification to like make a stronghold there, and no longer. It's very interesting, I guess, to see the rundown of like who left which parties to go to the AFD, because everyone likes to claim this thing of it's all these left voters that are ditching Die Linke to go to AFD. No, actually, overwhelmingly not the case. It was very much people leaving. The FDP this time, I think, was one of the largest ones.
Yeah, because the AFD is now like. So last election, FDP was the party of young men, and now it is AFD.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is grim.
Yeah, men. I know I don't want to sound like a cringe lib fem on here, but men, you're on watch. You're canceled.
I mean, there's genuinely so many vox pops of like, because when they did the like,
I loved those. I'm sorry, them going to like random people at Hauptbahnhof, and they found the most CDU looking motherfucker on earth, and he's just like, "Yup, I think it's a great day for the CDU," and everyone that I was watching was like, fucking of course you do. Look at you. Like your hair's all slicked back and shit.
CDU face is a real thing.
CDU face is a real thing, and they only have 3 faces.
Yeah.
There was they did a vox pop though for BBC. I don't know if you've seen that. And like for an article. And it's this young guy that he's like, no, I voted SPD, but I can see why men voted. Like he blamed feminism for men voting AfD.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Like, is this the average SPD voter?
MGTOW, but it's electoral.
Fucking hell, yeah. But it's
yeah, MGTOW, but the W at the end stands for Wehrmacht. There was a BBC one earlier as well when they did the school vote. Like, because I actually love that as a German tradition. I think that's really adorable. Of just like, here's what school kids would have voted for. This time around, it was like overwhelmingly Die Linke, but it split mostly towards women voting for Die Linke and guys voting AfD. And BBC reported on this or like copied some of the quotes that like German press did. And it was a lot of just like young women, like teenage women, just being like, yeah, I just can't really talk to the guys in my class anymore. It's fucked up.
Yeah. Small correction on my thing about the who voted who to the AfD. Actually, the largest group is people who did not vote. At 1.8 million people who did not vote previous elections went to the AfD. That's like, but that can be a multitude of things. That can be young people. That can be people who just never voted before when elections, whatever. So if you don't have like the age breakdown of that one, that's a bit weird. And then the second one is not too far ahead of the FDP is the CDU.
Yeah. There is an interesting thing, though. I did see that the number one choice for first-time voters, so this is specifically people voting for the first time, was Die Linke.
Hell yeah.
So AfD is probably...
For women mostly, though.
Oh yeah,
again,
women. All right. First off, shout out to jüngere Frauen. No, specifically jüngere Frauen in den Städten, or young women in the cities. Overwhelmingly voted for Die Linke. That was my favorite infographic of the evening. Was just people being like, shout out to young. Shout out to women in the cities. Yeah, because you really did God's work. Men in the cities cursed. As expected. But yeah, I mean, there's not much more to really say about the AfD. They've had a pretty strong campaign, overwhelmingly of like middle-aged men and older people voting for them. The youth vote did not swing as far to the AfD as people were expecting it to be, because everyone's like, oh, they're the TikTok party, whatever, this and that and that. But yeah, I mean, they are doing the best racism. It is not, and I mean, it is like, and I'm sorry, but it is simply the thing of that. Then these are gullible people who are easily coerced, people who also don't typically live in areas with any migrants in them, being coerced in the sense of these non-existent people that you don't see are actually secretly taking your jobs. And as I've mentioned before, of being from a state that then is literally on the border that then actually has a lot of migration and stuff like that, even when you have that there, you don't like, it's not this fantasy.
Yeah.
Like it's not, where is it? It's out of sight, out of mind somehow, because it isn't real, like. Yeah.
I think the other problem you have with the like SPD Green strategy, and also CD, like almost everyone strategy bar Die Linke, of like trying to out AfD the AfD, is kind of no one wanted that. Everyone just kind of went for the AfD if this was their number one issue. and we don't really have the like test case scenario proof. We don't have like the perfect carbon copy of reality, you know, Germany B or whatever, that had a bunch of parties just like make other issues their platforms. Like there's possibly like, I can say, because we don't have proof one way or the other, that like if SPD just focused on something else, they could have swayed those migration people over to
we
their
do
side.
actually have proof on this now.
We have indications.
No,
yes.
no. We do have we have proof on this. All right.
okay.
So,
All right.
to transition to then one of the good news, gute Nachrichten, because good news doesn't work in English in that way, of the evening. The small victories that we have, one of them being that Die Linke is not only back, I mean, I guess they never left the parliament, but they came back. They got 8.8%, and they also won their first seat ever, a first direct candidate in the West in Ferhat Kocak. So shout out to, I love how corny he is. His picture of like his silhouette sideways being like, we won, rips. I love his posting, killing it. And you know what? Die Linke did this by knocking on 2/3 of all of the doors in Neukölln and just, organizing on the ground. Yeah. And it paid off. And the thing is too, is that, like I pointed this out on Blue Sky, is that Die Linke, yes, they only, got 8.8%. This is a party that then a few weeks ago, even I had written in my overview of like, they're not going to make it. I wish they could. They have a lot of great party platforms, but, maybe we have to think about a world without Die Linke. Not anymore. They are, like you mentioned, they had one of the largest, kind of rushes towards the end of the election of membership. I think like 11,000 people joined within like the last 2 weeks or something like that. And they really showed that they are legitimately, and I don't want to say alternative for Germany, but they are an alternative to the politics currently in Germany. That they did the economic stuff good, and they didn't shy away from the social stuff. They didn't shy away from, we're not like the BSV shit of like, woke is bad, this and that and that. I saw pamphlets of Die Linke, being overtly pro LGBTQ plus, being overtly pro-abortion. Or I guess abortion rights.
They're just great. Do them all the time.
Yeah. They're very clear posters of against every genocide. They had the NATO critique. They had it all, and I was so afraid that they weren't going to make this. So I like what they're saying. They could always be more radical. That is like our jobs as I guess people on the.
Shit posters.
Yeah, shit posters, activists, whatever you may be, that is also your job to radicalize other aspects of Die Linke. I know a lot of people I know are joining Die Linke as of now or beforehand. It's also motivated a lot of people to then try to get their citizenship. But one point that then really also kind of was interesting is that Ines, I forget her last name, who is the Parteivorsitzende of Die Linke, the one who's with Jacobin and whatnot. I forget her last name.
Was formerly. I think she's left now.
I mean, she has to leave because it's a conflict of interest, but yes.
Yeah.
And, so she won the direct candidate in Lichtenberg, where she was running against Beatrix von Storch. Now, for those who don't remember Beatrix.
Yes.
Beatrix von Storch is the granddaughter of Hitler's finance minister, is a freak, and when she was asked like, okay, well, how did you kind of do this thing? Mm-hmm. And so when they were going around and canvassing, knocking on doors, and people were like, I'm voting for the AfD, Ines still was like, hey, you can swing by my office and we'll check and see what your bills are, if you're paying too much for them. So she offered her, the tools with them that she had. I mean, Die Linke has an app for all this stuff, and they did the concrete economic stuff, but in the KPÖ new sort of thing of come to my office, we'll figure out your stuff for you, we'll get your your rent reduced and stuff like that. And she won her district, and she not saying that then that she won by a mile like Ferhat did, but that clearly worked. in some degree. That clearly worked in the sense of like being there for voters who clearly are economically disenfranchised in Lichtenberg, which is very much in the east of Berlin. And that tactic got her into the Bundestag. So
full name for anyone who wants to look her up in the future and doesn't know, Ines Schwertner.
Thank you. I knew it was an S something.
Yeah. Is that Sworder? Like sword?
Sure. I mean, sounds like it.
Yeah. I think it should be. Sounds cool. Yeah, so Die Linke did well. Very, very well. I think, like you said, they came back. They technically never left, but I should say that up until like basically up
it
until
felt
like
they did.
yeah, up until Merz's start, like 2021 to like a month ago, it just kind of like Die Linke was a ghost in the Bundestag.
Their fraction, like remember the Linksfraktion, which is like their group in the Bundestag, split because of BSV.
Yeah,
you know, they lost all their federal funding at that level. And
speaking of which, let's talk about the womp womps of the evening, because this is our silver lining here.
This is my metaphorical shooting a gun in the air moment of the podcast.
Oh, absolutely. We are at a Serbian wedding. We are shooting guns.
I am that town in Italy that just everyone shoots a gun in the air.
I'm a deeply misogynistic patriarch on Mathathos, and Christ has risen once again.
That's actually on Crete where they do that, but yeah.
Is it Crete?
It is
okay.
Crete is notorious for that, but yeah.
Hell yeah. So yeah, BSW did not make it in. They are contesting this now.
She wants to sue or something. I saw your tweet, Nick. Well, post.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which sucks because it came from someone that I used to like quite a lot, Fabio De Masi. Just like had like a hissy fit about now. Don't get me wrong. He's not like entirely wrong about the sense of like that, you know, Germans outside of the country had a hard time voting this election. Of the 200,000 people who could get ballots, like I think like maybe like a tenth of them got theirs on time. And I know I have a few friends who've had this problem who live outside of Germany and are German citizens, and some who couldn't vote, some who had to like express deliver their ballot back, which cost like $200 or 200 euros.
Oh my God.
There was a problem, but it doesn't mean in the sense, and that is a fair thing to point out, and that is a fair thing that I think needs to be investigated in the future. And if there's maybe the possibility of then like a revote for the people who live in Ausland, great. De Masi,
but they weren't going to vote for you.
They weren't going to vote BSV, yeah. And so De Masi throwing a fit about that specifically because of this legitimate issue that BSV has to then contest the entire election is a bit farcical. And again, like I said, it really sucks to then see people who were formerly in Die Linke who I think that although BSV is a weird cult from Wagenknecht, they don't even like allow people to join the party without her permission. Apparently, like they have like limits of blocks of amount of people who can join at a time. As is expected for a party named after the literal namesake of it. Everything is everything comes down to Zara's decision. And it was a bit upsetting to then see De Masi, who's been a big person in terms of the like cum-ex and cum investigations, just look like a little like lapdog for BSV.
It's worth pointing out that like BSV didn't get into like parliament. The final result is 4.97, so 0.03 away from the threshold. But again, we're pointing out Germany's a big fucking country. That's a lot of votes.
Yeah,
it's 13,000, over 13,000.
Yeah,
I saw it in the U-Bahn.
That's a couple of dwarfs though. Like that's like Germany's so decentralized. That's like a couple of dwarfkins not feeling BSW kind of thing.
I don't know, but anyway, BSV's done. Get out of here with that bullshit. I mean, it's not going to be gone, but it's just the sense of like this party makes no sense in a lot of ways. It is just like I think that you've described it the best, that it is just like Robert Ficoism. Like Long live Ficoism.
Yeah, like it's what's this like Slovak nationalist party doing in like fucking Zaxxon Parliament? Uh, yeah, because I guess they're still in the European Parliament. They're in a handful of like state legislators as well.
They're in a
like,
government somewhere. I forget where it is, but yeah.
Turingen probably.
I think so. Yeah, they're in like the BlackBerry coalition.
Oh, adorable. Yeah, so I'm glad they didn't do well. I'm also really glad that their whole theory of change is completely stupid because we got the Wahlwanderung. I love the Wahlwanderung. First of all, I love the German word because it's like vote wandering, and I'm like, oh, look at this vote go.
Did you see the only people who left the AFD were to go vote for BSV?
And even that, like, of all the major parties that contributed to the BSV vote, because there wasn't because they couldn't vote for them in the previous federal elections, they didn't exist.
Yeah.
The smallest place they got from was AFD.
Yeah.
Like the whole like we're gonna pick up AFD voters is like, no, that didn't really work. Everyone who's coming to BSW is primarily pissed off SPD people. I think there's still number one previous vote was SPD. So like
it was really funny in the Deutsche Welle coverage of the elections that they were putting down like the percentage that every party was getting and how it changed from the last elections. So like minus whatever for SPD, da 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 da. And like with BSV, obviously it was like 4.9%, and it said like plus 4.9, and it was just like really weird thing.
Monumental change.
Yeah, and like at first, because I was not paying much attention, it took me by surprise. I was like, oh, okay, they're doing they're doing quite well. And then I was like, wait, no, they didn't exist. Like that's the whole
Yeah. It was so redundant.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah, that's irresponsible data reporting.
Yeah.
Anyway,
all right, and then we have to leave on the highest note of the evening. All right.
Yeah.
You know what? Germany's going to hell. Fascism is here. All that. We've acknowledged that. We've been talking about this on the show for ages. We've been doing the show for 6 years as of literally I think yesterday. So glad that you've been around for all of it. Our Staatsfeind of Corner Späti country Nummer 1, Christian Lindner, has been compromised to a permanent end. He's out, baby. Not only is he out, the FDP is out. They didn't make it, 4.4%. Really driving the coalition into the ground so that then you think that you can come out of it a hero. Did not work, and he has left politics indefinitely.
Yeah.
He's like the Drake of politics. Sorry.
I mean, yeah.
No, in a sense, like he started the beef. I know Drake didn't start.
No. I'm not going to correct you. Go on.
It's just funny. Like he started the beef and then like he lost so badly.
Yeah. Well, the only difference is that then Drake is still selling out arenas, and Christian Lindner is collecting unemployment.
I'm just like a real German Politico. I'm absolutely pissed off watching the Super Bowl because Kendrick Lamar doesn't have the balls to call Christian Lindner a pedophile on like the most watched American TV event. So he's gone. He sabotaged the government. I think. I don't know if anyone's actually done polling on this because how would you ask this question? But I'm assuming that
I think that the results of the election,
the results speak themselves. But like, I do think the German. I want to see the specific question I want to know is like, were people angry at the FDP and their policies during the coalition? Or I think what's more likely, and I would love this to be like in print and have numbers behind it, is that the German public were just like, yeah, he's just a little wrecker, isn't he? He just came in and fucking wrecked the whole thing.
Yeah, I think the funniest thing with the Wahlwanderung is that there is no one who went from a party to the FDP.
To FDP, yeah.
It is all, and as you posted on Blue Sky the other day, it really was the "do you want money or racism?" Because while yes, there was like little spurts here and there that went to other parties, overwhelming majority of voters, the FDP, who jumped ship. 1.35 million went to the CDU, and almost 900,000 went to the AFD. So really,
money and racism.
And this is the thing, is that no one's going to talk about the sense of like, okay, how did we have 1 million people almost jump ship from one of the largest, and not large, but I mean like one of the, you know, longest acting parties in Germany. The FDP has been around since reunification, or not, sorry, since like immediately the post-war. They're like, they start around the, you know, they're around the same time that the CDU does, from the ashes of like liberals, you know, in the 30s and stuff like that, who they've tried to always like make their rhetoric that they're this like, oh, see, we never collaborated with the Nazis sort of thing. We were like liberals. A lot of that's not true, but nonetheless, they like had this aura always to them that they're one of the oldest parties in Germany. I mean, I guess the SPD technically the oldest, but you know. And then
they're older than BSW. They're older than Die Linke.
Older than Die Linke. They're older than the Greens. I mean, they're one of the first parties since the post-war cycle. And then just like, you know, your party is just split between like which version of right-wing shit do you want? Because the FDP did, if anything, has then shown that hitting the racism button does not work. It's the FDP. Now, yes, they have Lindner on top of it, who's just a massive, like, you know, narcissist. But their posters were probably like further right wing, I would say, than most of the CDU ones.
Yeah. They definitely like, we talked about this kind of like trying to out AFD the AFD strategy, and they were trying to do that too. I also kind of think that this was a person like, or the FDP writ large, Christian Lindner, steamrolled by history. I am just going to keep saying that again, because like, he gets in 2021. He gets everything he ever wants. He wants to be finance minister. I'm going to fix Germany with my super cool crypto, investment bro logic. And then like Russia invades Ukraine. Like the whole game is fucking changed. And now in the context of this election, you've got like Trump being like a North Korea flag emoji poster. And like he gets steamrolled by history again, because like, in this moment of what's happening in Germany and geopolitical and everything, what the fuck does the FDP offer? Like, exactly. Nothing. Like if you're scared, shit.
They offer me a good time to laugh at. Other than that, nothing.
I also feel like, I don't know, maybe this is like the stereotype that I have of Germans as a Southern European or something, but it feels like loyalty is very valued. And the fact that Lindner basically did like a small-ish coup d'etat kind of thing, and like fucked the government so badly that it had to go. You know, there was the vote of confidence, and then just like the snap elections. I don't know. Like if I was a right-wing man, which neoliberal man, that's basically
his demo.
His demo. And I saw that, and I was like, oh, this man has no loyalty. Like, why? How dare you?
Like, I think
he's not a likable person at all either, you know? Like,
I think it's just, it's funny, the idea that like he's punished specifically because like someone's in the voting booth being like, I could have been grilling this Sunday. I could have been out with my kids or whatever the fuck, but I'm voting because of you. I hate this.
I could have had a chill day yesterday, but instead,
we could have been chilling, but you playing, Christian Lindner. I think loyalty might be the wrong word, but like stability. I think the Germans do value stability, and he was a little wrecker. Like he was just sabotaging the government, and did so to the point at which he sabotaged his way into. Okay, actually, this is my big question.
Go on.
What is the future of Merz? Because I see two paths in front of him, which is like the Nick Clegg path. He goes off and becomes the European face of like Facebook. And just does lobbying for some weird, huge American company.
Wait, you mean the Lindner?
You mean Lindner, then.
not
You said
Merz.
Oh yeah, Lindner. Sorry, yeah, sorry.
I'm about to say.
I was very confused. I was like,
yeah.
when has Matt's done anything like that?
Yeah, he just quits now. That'd be great. Actually, fucking, I don't want this.
I think he's gonna be like a professor of economics in like NATO University somewhere.
No, I don't think he has
the
that.
Ronald McDonald University.
He can't. He doesn't have a high enough degree to do that.
Oh, he doesn't have?
No. He just has like
Really?
a master. I think he just has like a master's or something, but I don't know. Yeah, you'd have to.
I'm not even sure he doesn't.
No, it doesn't matter. He has. All I know is that he has a degree in making bills.
Yeah. No, it has to be like it has to be like an Austin University situation. It has to be like a fake ass college.
He's gonna become like he's gonna become on like some board or whatever. Like how he's set. He's gonna be like collecting like millions of euros for like evil GmbH. You know.
Yeah, that's kind of what I mean by the Facebook thing of like just some sort of weird private lobbying position. The other thing that I see is in like 8 months' time he gets divorce papers.
Yeah.
He's not married, is he?
He has. I mean, when I search Frau, it comes up with something.
His girlfriend or I guess wife, I don't know, who works at Welt TV, which is conflict of interest.
Funny how that never came up.
I know, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's the election. I think we've covered everything we need to talk about.
You know, we'll keep our ear to the ground these next coming weeks, hopefully, not months. But remember, last Merkel coalition took like 6 months to make. Almost triggered a second election, remember?
Oh, yeah. Feels different. I feel like they need to get to it. Like
it feels scary. It feels scary because Matt's literally his first words after winning was like, "We need to get shit done quickly."
Yeah.
Like, please don't tell me that means like you're gonna do a coalition with AfD because Vidal is very ready.
She's
and
very
quickly
ready.
Will say yes.
Yeah. I will say too that then just for one last thing is that Merz also claimed that left is over, and then he also said the sogenannte Antifa, which means like so-called Antifa. When a German says sogenannte, you know that they really have a bone to pick with you.
Yeah.
So
First off, you're the one saying Antifa, not us.
Yeah. Like,
yeah. I wonder. The other thing that makes me think like, oh boy, shit's gonna kick into gear is like him talking about NATO in that way the day after, or like even was it the day after the evening of an election? Evening of. That is definitely like, that feels like the most substantive thing a politician has ever said immediately after an election.
Oh, he also invited Netanyahu yesterday.
Fun.
Well, they had a very warm conversation.
No. He's extended. He's extended for when he becomes Bundeskanzler. He has extended an invitation to Netanyahu, according to.
No, I know, but because they had a phone call yesterday.
Just on one silly thing. There was one little piece of the Berliner Runde after the elections where all the candidates were there, and they were talking about like Emmanuel Macron is on his way right now to speak with Trump, and Scholz just like barges in. He's like, yeah, we just got off the phone with each other.
Petty ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, right.
Merz and Macron, that's gonna be weird to look at.
I mean,
because that's like,
Scholz is shorter than Macron. We've already seen Merz next to like tall.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. You know, it's a classic guy setup. Short guy, tall guy. We love it.
Yeah.
This is how the podcast works. I'm the short guy. Kieran's the slightly taller guy.
I'm not that tall.
No, you're like 194, right? You're like
I'm Merz height. I'm nearly 2 meters.
198.
Yeah. No, I'm 5'11", which is like the God is taunting you height, because it's like almost 6 foot.
Are you actually 5'11"?
Is it 170? No. In
180. I can't remember.
Yeah, because I'm 170, like 175.
I think it's 180.
Yeah. Letting everyone know, every listener corner Späti, I am a borderline short king. So
Yep. Hey, in 6 years' time, when we've been doing this for 12 years, maybe we'll release our feet pictures. I don't know. Like, we'll just... And with that, we will catch you on the bonus feed.
Bye bye.
Ciao, ciao.
bye-bye.